The foreign ministry spokesperson for China, Wang Wenbin, said, without the consent of the Afghan people, the US willfully disposes of assets that belong to the Afghan people, even keeping them as its own. This is no different from the conduct of bandits. Exactly, and it's no different from the conduct that we criticized when Trump for years was saying, let's take the oil. We go in, we take the oil, it's ours. Okay, well, what if it was $7 billion worth of oil? Do I care if it's cash or if it's national resources? It was theirs. Anyway, Wang Wenbin goes on to say, this latest example has once again laid bare that the rules-based order the US claims to champion is not the kind of rules and order to defend the weak and uphold justice, but to maintain its own hegemony. And they're not wrong. And it is consequential. As we've been saying, they are facing a massive disaster over there in Afghanistan. According to the International Rescue Committee, 97% of Afghans are projected to fall into poverty by the second half of this year. Nearly 23 million Afghans, over half of the country's population, are facing acute food insecurity, with 1 million children at risk of the most severe form of malnutrition. Now, as Jordan was saying earlier on the show, well, maybe we can help both by providing money, but also if there are people who would like to flee the country now ruled by the Taliban, that we should help to resettle them. Good luck getting basically anybody in DC to advocate for that. The closest we've come in recent days is Steven Crowder joking about allowing Canadians to apply for asylum to the US. I don't think they're applying it to anyone who's not bringing maple syrup.
Right, it's this racist, jingoistic foreign policy. They won't apply those same standards to anybody who lives in the Middle East, people who are non-white. Look, you want to come here from France, you want to come here from Netherlands, yeah, Sweden, go for it. Yeah, oh, you're great. You got money? Come on in. Canada, same thing. But Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, countries that we have had our finger on the scale of and helped decimate for years or decades in some cases. No, absolutely not. No help. And we're going to take your assets. It's bogus.
Exactly. And by the way, it's not like I don't share at least some of the concerns. I worry about what the Taliban would do with some of that money, but we also decided that they're going to be in charge of this country. And we had 20 years to really try to stop that if that was what we were going to do. They are in charge now, for better or for worse. It's probably going to be pretty bad. We seem set on making it worse. They are in charge. And by the way, we're gonna take some of that money supposedly and throw it into NGOs. Okay, good, that is good, we should do that. There is no guarantee that the Taliban isn't gonna be able to access a good amount of that money or claim it. These are necessary risks in a difficult situation. This is the real world, a real world that we have made materially worse. We don't get to pretend that we'll only engage if everything is super pure when we've assured that it won't be. In any event, we also have some criticism once again coming from the Congressional Progressive Caucus. So you had Pramila Jayapal's amendment to at least look into what's likely to happen. Now the Congressional Progressive Caucus has put out a statement saying, in part, any functioning country must have access to its own currency and reserves. By removing and breaking up Afghanistan's already frozen funds, the United States is continuing to contribute to a crumbling economy and devastating impacts on the Afghan people. While we agree on the need for robust humanitarian aid, it cannot substitute for a functioning central bank that stabilizes the currency, pays the salaries of civil servants, and provides reserves for private businesses that can prop up an ailing economy. It is also unclear how much of that aid would actually be able to reach people in need when the country's financial service is impeded by a web of sanctions. Because of course, we're not just taking the money out, we of course have sanctions on the Taliban, which is going to affect a significant portion of the economy. And they call for those frozen assets to be released and used to restore the country's economy. That's coming from progressive, Jordan, so I have no idea if Biden's even gonna hear it, let alone feel the pressure coming from them.
I mean, I don't expect much from the Biden administration in changing course. We'll see at the State of the Union, because I think that's going to be a big focus. But the fact that they specifically set out to designate half of those reserves to 9/11 victims kind of shows their hand, right? Even the withdrawal date. Remember, the withdrawal date deadline was September 11th. Like, they're just kind of leaning into this symbolic patriotism to distract people from what's really happening and the suffering that they've inflicted. It's like, oh, look at us, we're actually the victims here. Remember 9/11? Don't worry about who did it. So it's like that they're trying to reallocate this money for 9/11 victims. That the withdrawal date was on 9/11. That's going to be the talking point. It's going to, oh, you know what? We ended the ended, but it's like you said, it's still going to happen. People are still going to die at the hands of drone strikes. Austin, the defense secretary, has said for months it's just going to be an aerial, unseen form of combat going forward. We're going to be basically strike anywhere type of approach around the Middle East. It's not ending, but they need to frame it as a win going into midterms. So what better way than some 9/11 pandering?
Yeah, and they need the win, particularly in this area, because they believe that the right is right when they just say, the shameful withdrawal that's all everybody's going to be thinking about. They seem to have moved on from that. I think that one of the reasons they're freaking out about the truckers is that they need some other narrative going to the election. But yeah, the Dems are always playing defense. When I say defense, I mean defending their own political prospects, not defending the people that are about to starve to death in mass numbers. And yes, that war will continue. Lauren Boebert is not going to be trying to ban drone strikes any more than Marjorie Greene is going to ban solitary confinement after complaining about the January 6 people being held in it. They don't have any actual principles or positions. In any event, really fast, because Jordan and I have responded to the fact that they are trying to get you to ignore all of this by cloaking it in 9/11, 9/11, 9/11. So some of the money will go to humanitarian aid, some will go to those families. So that's all good, right? Is it actually? Is that where all the money's gonna go? The Intercept has done some great reporting in this area too, and they point out that the law firms that have been working for a number of years to create this settlement are not doing so for free. They're working on a contingency basis, and they will be paid. Even if, and this is hypothetical, it's just a 15% fee structure, they stand to potentially make as much as $525 million. It could go significantly higher than that. Lobbyists will be paid in the millions as well. And to make it even worse, there's some video, we're not gonna play the audio, but you can find it on Lee Fang's Twitter account. But Andrew Maloney is a partner at one of these law firms, and he says that his firm deserves Afghanistan's money because, quote, the reality is the Afghan people didn't stand up to the Taliban. They bear responsibility for the condition they're in. Oh God, Jordan, that is just gross. After all that we did over the course of 2 decades to justify the theft of billions of dollars, you guys should have done something, lazies.
I mean, by the looks of it, this is the type of guy who would call the police if he saw a kid shoplifting at CVS. So like, it's not exactly someone who's going to take up arms if he sees a perceived injustice. Yeah. The fact that he's talking about standing up to an armed terrorist group, then that's like, just women and children throughout Afghanistan that they don't deserve help because they didn't go fight a bunch of guys with like military grade weaponry. It's just so ludicrous.
Yeah. People who they were seemingly afraid of if they stood up in literally any way, their families would be murdered afterward and reprisals. I don't know why. It's not a country that's full of alpha males like Andrew Maloney, Donald Trump, and Ben Shapiro. If they had those sorts of people, they would have taken out the Taliban long ago. In any event, oh, sorry, you had another thought?
Well, I think just one final thing. It's when you see comments like that, and when you see behavior like from Trump and Shapiro talking about foreign policy, it's a reminder that there's just never been a conflict like that fought here. Like if we ever had any sort of war here, I do think it would change how we see military engagements around the world. Because look, people throughout Europe get it, people especially in the Middle East get it, and especially in Africa. But there hasn't been a large scale conflict here. I mean, we're just still bemoaning 9/11, and while terrible, it's nothing compared to what people experienced on a daily basis for decades in Iraq and Afghanistan. So it's totally detached from reality and the consequences and horror of war.
Yeah, 100%. And look, even hypothetically, they certainly would have you believe that were it to come here, they'd be the strong men. I mean, after all, they're ready to potentially overthrow the United States government. Dude, you guys wouldn't wear masks. You wouldn't get a shot. You'd be complaining about your freedom. I don't want to be a revolutionary. I have rights. Yeah. Anyway, you're not standing up to anything. God, you don't even have a standing desk. You think you're standing up to tyranny? For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell
wherever it is so you don't miss anything.